Warning. Warning. You are about to enter the propaganda report with Brad Binkley.
That's right. You've already entered the propaganda
Warning.
report with Brad
Warning.
Binkley.
You are about to enter the propaganda report with Brad Binkley.
You're here. You're here right now, this
Warning.
after midnight show.
Warning. You are about to enter the
Let's go ahead and
propaganda report with Brad.
turn that off. Let me know in the chats if you can hear me. I must be on POC time. I'm on. I don't know how to describe what time I'm on, but I'm on a time zone that is, I think it's outside of space and time continuum. It's in another dimension, as they might say back during the black and white TV shows. A twilight zone, if you will, as there were some strange things going on outside my house that I went out there and I observed and dealt with, and then came in and we had to set up the show again. We'll tell that story for another time, but we're here now. We are here, and we're going to do a show, title of tonight's show. This will be a restream if you're listening tomorrow, but Dems trauma campaign strategy, biblical warframing, and the most brilliant heckle. Truly, the most brilliant heckle that I've personally ever seen. I'm a professional heckler. I've been heckling since I was 8 years old at sporting events. I've never seen one this good. Nevertheless, before I dive into the first story, actually, if you guys are in the Atlanta area and you like going to see live shows, I'm going to be doing stand-up comedy at the Helium Comedy Club on Saturday, April 4th with Sam Tripoli, who will be headlining at Helium, and Howie Dewey, who's going to be featuring. I'm opening. This is going to be 2 shows, one at 7, one at 9:30. You can get tickets at samtripoli.com on his event page. It should be a really good time. The club's in Alpharetta, I believe. I've not been there yet. I think it's I don't know how long it's been there, but they have a lot of good shows, and it's going to be fun, and we may or may not end up at Magic City afterwards. So come check out that show. It'd be fun. It's good. These live events are awesome. I've never been to a live event that hasn't been super cool. Okay. The Democrats, white male Democrat, 2028 presidential hopefuls are already out campaigning, testing their messaging around the country, and apparently it would seem culturally appropriating the campaign strategy of the minorities in their own party. The female minorities mostly are the ones who use this approach, the Jasmine Crockett's of the party, the Stacey Abrams, who is a master of I'm oppressed, that's why you should vote for me. Here's a bunch of made-up stories about my oppression strategy. But guess what, Stacey Abrams? Guess what? It would seem that you weren't good enough at being an oppressed minority, so we're going to have to replace you with 3 white dudes who we feel can play a better oppressed minority than you. And that's what this Axios article is about. It is a strategy for the presidential campaign for the Democrats that some might know right now as the I'm a 960 guy strategy. And Axios has put a little bit of lipstick on a pig here in describing what this cultural appropriation is, as they have a headline here. Their headline says, where is it? Some potential 2028 Democrat presidential candidates are introducing themselves to voters in a striking way. That's their headline. They're leaning into trauma. And they're documenting their childhood resentments, their family chaos, and their fights with their parents. This is so stupid. When the 3 guys doing it are Gavin Newsom, Pritzker, and Josh Shapiro. I guess Josh Shapiro and Pritzker are Jewish, so I guess technically they're not white, but they're white dudes. They're wealthy white. They grew up wealthy. They never had to worry about money in their life, and they're trying to find a way to connect with black people who grew up in the hood. And they're like, let's lean into our trauma. And we'll connect with them. And Axios, they're talking about Newsom's 960 SAT guy thing. And the versions of this that these other two guys have done, except they're calling it like a strategy of vulnerability. It's a good thing they're doing to try and connect with potential voters instead of being a condescending, stealing of a black woman's job. This is Stacey Abrams' job to pretend that she was oppressed. She looks the part better than them. Gavin Newsom doesn't even have a field goal sized gap in his teeth, and he's going to try. Stacey Abrams, that's unbelievable. It's reverse DEI here. The article says, it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous how it's the exact same thing that we all saw. And Gavin Newsom has done. He goes and pretends he's black on all these shows. And Axios is like, what a unique, striking approach to connect to these underserved communities, to show them how you're just like them because you had childhood trauma. It's so stupid. Here's the article says, many presidential hopefuls carry painful memories from complicated childhoods, but few have discussed them as openly as Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, California Governor Gavin Newsom, and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. What brave, wealthy white men who've never had to worry about paying their own bill in their life. They're so brave because they've had to hold this trauma in for their entire careers. They've never talked about this before. And they've all decided for the first time at the same time, to say, you know what, it's time I opened up about my vulnerabilities and about how I'm black just like you. And I can't read just like you. And I'm oppressed and I'm not accepted just like you. That's what this article says in another way. Axios is such bullshit. They have this website where it's such a pretty website. We're so simple with our packaging of it, and it's just all inverted. Just like Gavin Newsom's penis. He has an innie. Some call it a vagina or a bussy. I don't know. I don't know what they call it. It depends on who he's campaigning to. I've got a bussy just like you. It's probably a campaign message that Gavin Newsom says to some groups. Maybe it's in his book. Article continues, their frankness about their formative years and family dynamics is a way to shape their public stories before journalists do it. It's also a sign of shifting taboos and a growing desire for candidates to appear relatable to voters. See, that's bullshit because there's always been a growing desire for candidates to relate to people they want to vote for them. There's never not been a desire to be relatable to those who you want to vote for you. And Axios is like, there's a new thing they're trying. This new thing where it's like, let's be relatable. Holy shit, we should try and be relatable. They've been code switching and bullshitting for years. And they try and act like this writer is just, I don't know who the writer is. I don't know if they're a younger person who doesn't know anything about it, or they're just completely full of it. But people read this and they go, people who trust them, they go, oh my God, that's so interesting. Did you guys hear about how candidates want to appear relatable to voters? The article actually says appear, which I think is funny. The growing desire for candidates to appear relatable to voters. No, the accurate part about that is they want to shape the public stories before journalists do. But this is not a good way to do it, in my opinion. Shifting taboos. Can you tell us what taboos are shifting, please? Well, what taboos are shifting here? Are you breaking taboo by trying to appear relatable? Are you going to the Democrat Party and you're going, I am Gavin Newsom, and I know You guys aren't going to like this. I know I'm going against the grain here of everything that you guys believe, but somebody's got to do it. I'm going to try and appear relatable. Go ahead, throw your tomatoes. I know the strategy has been to don't be relatable at all. Don't even try to be relatable. This is the shit they all do. They frame stuff that is, depending on who it benefits, completely normal, but it's groundbreaking if someone who they're trying to support does it, which obviously Axios is trying to prop these three up. But if it's somebody they don't like and it's completely normal, they frame it as shocking, and they frame it as, what's Jake Tapper always say? Unprecedented. Unprecedented attempt to appear relatable. In preparing for the 2028 campaigns, the governors have opened up about their difficult relationships with their parents and how they have shaped their lives. And then it goes through these candidates, starting with Josh Shapiro. In his recent book, Where We Keep the Light, where do you keep it? That's like a mystery on the cover. Where is the light? Shapiro writes that he had a happy childhood and also at points an unhappy childhood home. What a profound thing there. That's the quote that they put in here. So they're trying to show that he's showing his trauma to relate to minorities who have experienced trauma. And the quote they chose was, I had a happy childhood and at points an unhappy childhood home. That's the worst they could find. It wasn't like I got molested in an alley and put in foster care because I didn't have parents around. It was, I was a happy kid, but sometimes in an unhappy home. That's really going to connect to the brothers and sisters in Harlem. He says his mother, Judy, could be unstable and that he and his siblings believed that, quote, if we were good, we could stop the chaos and the yelling. Wow, it must have been so difficult for him and his brothers, having to blame everything on his mother like that all the time. Him and his brother and his dad just having to tell his mom, tell that bitch to shut up all the time. I mean, what a difficult... I can't believe he held this in for so long. If we were just good and behaved, then we could stop the chaos. What's the chaos? Tell us about the chaos and the yelling. I want to know more details there. What pain he must have endured. Having to gang up on the only woman in the house with his brother and his dad. It must have been... Because nobody's had yelling in their house ever. Nobody. Ever. That's so rare. That's so traumatic. Most people have parents that never argued or disagreed or even raised their voice. Most children were never forced to team with their brothers and father to shut that bitch of their mom up. Josh Shapiro has my vote simply for overcoming that. Shapiro notes that he wrestled with whether to discuss such private family matters, but ultimately did so because others have lived through similar experiences. It's really smart, really thoughtful, just really thinking about the voter. And because his mother's behavior influenced his leadership style. He says, it explains why I always sought to solve problems. I had to anticipate a problem or a pain point before there was a blow up. So he's going around having to prevent his mom from losing it, it sounds. It sounds like she's crazy, schizophrenic or something, which is kind of odd because never before at any point during his career, and he's a governor, he's run for office many times, has he mentioned his mom in a negative way. Not one time can you find that. Ever. But he was holding it in. It's torturing him. He saw all these people with mothers and fathers that were either gone or they were abusive, and yet he kept his trauma inside. Because that wasn't the strategy for the Democrat Party yet, until it was taboo. It was taboo to relate to people. But he's breaking it. He's going to relate. Look, my mom would yell sometimes, and me and my brother were like, shut up, Mom. Shut up, Mom. I am trying to get some chicks to come over and come in our swimming pool with us, and I want to drive them around in my Porsche, okay? Look, I'm so tired of you yelling at me. Even though I can barely hear you, of the stacks of billions of dollars that we have around us. I'm just like black people, Mom. You dumb bitch, shut up. I'm just like black people without mothers. I'm going to roll this cash up and smoke it. Gayle King pressed him on the passage in his... What does that mean? When Gayle King at CBS pressed him, like she did some hard-hitting news, which she doesn't ever do. That's another just little lie. I know I get in the weeds of this, but these little lies here, framing Gayle King as somebody who presses anybody. I mean, maybe a white boy in the bathroom at a dive bar after, a bottle of Merlot. Maybe she's pressing that guy. She's not pressing this guy. She pressed him on the passage, and Shapiro said, in many ways, I hope she's able to see that I hope she's able to see one day that my mom is the hero in that book. So I don't know if he's talking about his mother here, if he's talking about Gayle King. In many ways, and I hope she's able to see this one day. My mom is the hero in that book. So his mom is still alive. I tried to find his mom on the internet. Couldn't find him anywhere. It's like John Ossoff's father. I'd love to see John Ossoff speak about the trauma about his father, who's never been to a campaign event of his, who you can't find a picture of him with him, who forced John Ossoff to grow up riding around on a mega yacht in the South China Sea with Chinese diplomats. He forced him to do this. He forced him to go to Yale and get drunk all the time and have no responsibility so that he could focus on being part of the Nixon war on drugs administration. And then he just abandoned him when he ran for office. I would like to see him write a book about his trauma with his father. Because it's not on the internet anymore. It used to be. Probably used to be information about this woman on the internet, if I had to guess. And they got divorced. So she divorced the dad. The dad, it's me speculating. There's a divorce, and the kids are siding with the father for the divorce. And they're cold. And this is politics. They think this is going to work for them. It used to be hashtag believe all women for the Democrats. Now it's hashtag shut up, bitch. Shut up, bitch. I'm a black minority. I don't care how white or Jewish I am. I don't care how rich I am. I'm poor. He described his parents. This is years ago, by the way. This is the only statement I could find about him talking about his mom. There's a couple that said the same thing. This is before this new angle, breaking taboos. He said his parents, Steve and Judy, they set a great example for him to live a life of faith and service. His dad's a doctor, and his mom was a teacher, who by all accounts, he was a good mom up until he finally let his trauma be revealed. Gavin Newsom is the next one they talk about. Gavin Newsom, the California governor, is even more candid about his at times fraught relationship with both parents. This is just so funny. I'm just picturing the Axios writing room where they're the editors giving out the assignments. Okay, who wrote this article? Let me see who wrote this article. I'm going to guess. You guys listening, you think it's a man or a woman that wrote this article? I'm going to guess a chick. I'm going to guess they put this on Chick to write this. Let's find out. Axios, Dem candidates acting like pussies. Vulnerable. Sorry, I got to see who wrote this. I should have gotten this before, but I'd really like to know who wrote this. I bet it's somebody who is a younger writer. No, it's a guy and a girl. It's two. It's Alex Thompson and Holly Otterbein. Her name is Holly Otterbein. That sounds like if you had to guess one name of the person who wrote this article, I would have written down Holly Otterbein. I think everybody would have. So this guy looks like he looks like he's probably gay. That makes sense. And he's probably the handler at Axios. These publications have their fancy websites, and they can look smooth and talk about journalistic freedom, the First Amendment, and yet be the most full of shit propaganda. And it's not like this is really that big of a deal. One of these candidates could actually win, but which is pretty funny. You have one of these idiots. Holly Thompson is a senior politics writer. So okay. So maybe they're not so young. They look like a gay. They look like two people who would start a local indivisible organization, like in Toledo, Ohio, or wherever. That's who they look like. One of them's gay. The other's straight, but she hates men. That's what they look like. And here they are having to sell their souls and support these awful, awful white men. Look at this. Just so you know I'm not making this article up, because this is the dumbest article. Hey, listen, we have a great assignment here. We need you guys. We need somebody who really can get in there, because this is taboo breaking. We need a pair of people. Is there a gay guy and can we get an angry woman in her late 40s? Yeah, okay, great. You two. We need an article about these white dudes embracing their childhood traumas to try and manipulate black people, but you need to say it nice. Yeah, no, you're going to have to write about Gavin Newsom, and you're going to have to ignore how he talks like he's black whenever he sees a black person, how he says he can't read. You're going to have to ignore how he tackles little Chinese children when Xi Jinping comes to California and gropes them on an outdoor basketball. You have to ignore all of those things. And you're going to have to act like he is being as vulnerable as any minority he is trying to win the vote of. Good. You got it. I need less pussy whites. Yeah, well, there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of people on the anti-racist path. There's a lot of people who are focused on being good allies. Look at this. This is just crazy how these are like these guys have never worried about money in their life. And they're like, look at these oppressed black men and women. That's basically what they're saying. Okay, on to Gavin. The article says that and we're supposed to feel very sorry for him. That's like they paint the picture of why we should ignore everything we know about him and be like, oh my God, I had no idea. The California governor is more candid about his at times fraught relationships with both parents, which he says left him caught between two worlds and fully accepted by neither. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about that. That's probably why he wore that scarf in that profile of him when he was a teenager about the children of San Francisco's wealthy elites, to cover up the pain that you could see. There's probably lacerations on his neck. In his new book, Young Man in a Hurry, Newsom recounts having dyslexia and how his mother, Tessa, this is the first time he's revealed this, by the way, and how his mother, Tessa, who carried most of the burden of raising him and his sister, tried to console him over his struggles in school by saying, quote, "It's okay to be average, Gavin." Newsom then writes that although she meant to comfort him, he recalls no crueler words. Really? What was the context there, Gavin? Were you trying to play basketball with a bunch of 6'8" black guys? And she said, it's okay to be average in this context, because that's kind of void of context there. And yet, again, just like the previous dude, the idea is, whoa, your mom's a cunt. What a dumb bitch. What a dumb bitch, just like Josh Shapiro's mom. Trying to comfort her son in a context we're void of. What a cruel, cruel woman raising you all by herself, like I said. The burden, yeah, okay. He also says that after his parents' divorce, his father, Bill, was absent, leaving him looking to give his father, quote, reasons to be a bigger part of his life. What does that even mean? He was looking to give his father reasons to be a bigger part of his life? It doesn't even make sense. He's like, my mom was a dumb bitch because she told me that I didn't have to be awesome at everything. And I hated her so much, I had to spend all this time trying to figure out how to give my absent father opportunities to be part of my life outside of all the money he gives me. Yeah, he should be there for me. Because he wouldn't say it's okay to be average. He's just not there. Like, at least he didn't tell him that it's okay not to be perfect. It's just the bending over backwards to paint these people. It's interesting to me. I find it interesting the way I wonder if these writers have to look at the reality of these people and then they say, how can we invert this and put lipstick on a pig and make it seem like they're the vulnerable ones? Or I wonder if just the very nature of the fact that this article is supposed to align with what their agenda is, that it just comes out of them, you know? I think it's probably different in different cases, but it is an exercise in creativity to paint people who these same writers have probably in the past, when they've opposed other candidates in the Democrat Party, talked about them just like they were Trump. But now they're what Stacey Abrams pretends to be, an oppressed minority. Stacey Abrams is the ideal. She's very good at pretending to be an oppressed minority. I want to see Gavin Newsom embrace blackface. I think it's time. I think if we're really going to culturally appropriate, he's got to go full. He's got to be the character he wants them to see in him. He needs to start smoking crack. He needs to start just lashing out at police officers. He needs to go full what he pretends that he's trying to relate to. And that's not me saying this. That's Gavin Newsom. Well, Gavin Newsom's the racist here. Gavin Newsom's the racist. That's what he does. Gavin Newsom, I've asked a lot of people about this. I've asked a lot of black dudes and chicks that I know, like how this made them feel. And they hate him. They hate him. They're repulsed by him. And now Axios is like, well, he was just being vulnerable, you dumb minority. I mean, what an insult this article is. This is why you have blacks for Trump. I interviewed all these guys that were the blacks for Trump in Fulton County. It's because they treat them like they're dumb. He recalls that, this is what all you need to know about Gavin right here. As part of his book tour, he released an hour-long podcast with his sister, Hillary. Oh, I'm sure I'll tune into that, which they frankly discuss their parents' divorce, their relationships with each parent, and the deaths of their parents. Newsom also recalls being absent at times during his mother's final struggle with cancer. Let me read that again. Newsom recalls being absent at times during his mother's final struggle with cancer, until she left him a voicemail in the spring of 2002, telling him that if he wanted to see her, he should do so before Thursday, because that's going to be my last day on earth, because she had arranged for an assisted suicide. And Newsom wrote that he had realized that he had been hiding from her, hiding from himself, because he did not want to face her dying. So this is a guy that is trying to run for president. A guy whose mother is sick and dying, and he doesn't even bother with being even a little bit of a caregiver. I know some of you guys listening have been caregivers to your ailing relatives. You guys who have listened for a while know that I was for a long time. And I know lots of people in this situation now, actually. And many of them have relatives who completely checked out when their loved one got sick. And that appears to be what Gavin Newsom did. Now, I'm not trying to give anybody any shit about those feelings, because those feelings are valid, not wanting to see someone sick. But Gavin Newsom's trying to position himself as someone who solves problems. And here is the life's greatest challenge is a sick and dying parent who needs the care of their children, or they're going to be put in a home. And this person who's running to solve the problems of the country is telling us that he ran from the problem that he could have actually demonstrated his ability to care in difficult times. This is disqualifying. And not that there's not a million other disqualifying things. I mean, this to me is, I guess the idea here for the messaging is to, I don't even know what it is, honestly. I think they're completely out of touch. He said when he and his sister joined their mother on her final day, that pisses me off. So their mom killed herself, basically, with the laws in, I guess she was in California. They said that his mom had a picture of him and his sister propped on her chest and said, "My works of art." So that's a tearjerker there. You know what a parent who is ailing loves more than everything in the world? You know what means everything in the world to them? Getting to see their children for a few minutes. Something which Gavin Newsom apparently deprived his dying mother of doing until the very last moment. Didn't even try and step in and use he was a political figure back then, a younger one. Didn't even attempt to say, hey, maybe there are other alternative methods of healing that we could pursue instead of you killing yourself. Maybe he could have intervened a little sooner, and he could have said, hey, maybe we don't do this euthanasia thing. Maybe we look around first. What a piece of shit. On to J.B. Pritzker. And what a piece of shit he is. Newsom. Pritzker, we'll see. Pritzker says he hasn't even written a memoir. Well, I mean, he spoke openly about losing his father to a heart attack when he was 7 and his mother to alcoholism when he was 17. Again, trying to appeal to the minorities who also didn't have parents around. In a recent interview with New York Times, he recalled his mother, Sue, trying to explain her alcoholism when he was 8 or 9 and promising to overcome it. But unfortunately, she was never able to, and it took her life. And as a heir to the Hyatt Hotel fortune, that left Pritzker both an orphan and extraordinarily wealthy. There's where the line of relation severs from who you're appealing to. So he lost his parents at young age, 7 and 17. That's very tragic, to lose your parents at such a young age. This is, again, he's saying this because they've never talked about this apparently in depth before, to appeal to minorities in the Democrat Party is why they're doing this. So he's saying to people whose parents weren't around, my parents weren't around just like you. But what happens after someone who they're appealing to, whose vote they want to win, lost their parents? Well, quite often, because I know people who are guardian ad litems who work in the foster system. What happens is the siblings go into foster care quite often because they don't have the financial resources to take care of themselves. They don't have the billions and the Hyatt fortune to make their life not a problem, even if emotionally they're sad. He, on the other hand, who never struggled for money, inherits this fortune, and that inheriting actually it doesn't affect him at all because he's never had to worry about that. And he's trying to say, I'm just like you. Many of these children end up in foster care. Some of them get molested by their foster parents. There's good foster parents, but there's also bad situations. I wonder if he was put in some home where he was getting molested, that got separated from his siblings because they were adopted by different families. I'm just like you, he's trying to say. I was molested by the billions of dollars of cash that surrounded me, that there was no room for, that they had to shove it in every hole in my body. I was molested just like you. This is the campaign strategy they're embracing. And it might even work. That's what's crazy about it, because the Republicans are so divided, and they're going to continue to be, especially over the Iran war, that you have these assholes. They might as well be in blackface. Just go full blackface. It's more entertaining. You dumb fucks, full blackface. And one of these guys, this is the best they got right here. A bunch of rich as fuck people, never struggled for money ever in their life, trying to come up with ways to relate to the minority audience they're targeting, who they don't understand at all. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pink. Glad to have the sub. So, and I don't know how you feel about this, Mr. Pink. You might differ on this, but I want to point out the appeals, shifting gears, when it comes to the Iran war. And there's been a lot of descriptions of what they say is going on and why we did it. And it's, one person will say it's the regime change, not a regime change, but the regime changed. Then it's a nuclear thing. And then it's deterrence. It's a bunch of different reasons that we heard in the past that Trump, even if he didn't explicitly say every time, did appeal to when he was running and had made statements, because, it's something that has in the past been universally something people railed against. And when Democrats would do the same thing, if they were doing the same thing, then they would be railed against also. And many people voted for Trump because of the belief that there would not be a situation like this. I thought there probably was going to be, regardless. But people who were very adamant, who were very much like the Democrats are going to do this, Trump won't do it, and it's this thing, said that's why they voted. And some of them now support the war fully, even though they said they're voting because they don't want to go to any more foreign wars. And even if that's not what exactly was said during the campaign, it's what was taken away by many. But, and the reason I want to point this out and talk about this, because it's interesting to watch, is all of those previous appeals I mentioned are not why this group of people, I've spoken with many of them because I noticed it after the first strike on the nuclear facilities in June, that friends of mine and people that I talked to who were very much anti-war and stated that as a reason for their support of Trump were 100%, no questions asked, pro-war. Pro, let's get Iran, let's take them out. And it had nothing to do with all those explanations. It had to do with a different explanation, a religious one. It had to do with this being a religious war. It was a framing that enabled them to say, I know I've felt this way before, but now this is an existential crisis for my religion. This is potentially the end times. And because I would joke with them, starting back in June, I would be like, we have to kill all the Muslims, right? All the Muslims? Because I was hearing arguments that were kind of justifying, we better kill all the Muslims before they kill us. And I'm not saying there's not issues with immigration and whatnot. I'm not saying any of that. I was just kind of exaggerating, mocking a little bit, but also just highlighting the kind of shift in tone. And I didn't even think that it would kind of get to being more explicit appeals, but there's a story, and this is why I believe this story, I believe it's possible that this is actually going on. There's 200 soldiers who have filed complaints because of the appeals coming from their commanders. Now, I know there's people who are in the military who are going to be leftists, who may be looking for a reason. I understand that. But I've seen the effect that these religious appeals have on people that I know personally. And I just wonder to what extent it's going to reach. I know that they want to appeal to Charlie Kirk in a religious way. I've been saying this for a while. Charlie was the first casualty of the war against Islam. There was a messaging point going around early on that the Muslims were the foreign influence. Going to be harder for them to do that now with the Israel, connection being more prominent. So I don't know that they'll be able to hit that like they wanted to, but they tested those talking points early on because TPUSA, that's exactly their target audience. But these guys and women, I don't know who, I don't think there's many theys in the military anymore. Here's what military.com claims that one of these people who filed the complaint said. They said that this is a non-commissioned officer, and they were told by their commander, and this is in the context of the people who listen to them being deployed soon. They were told to urge their troops that this was all part of God's divine plan, and told to specifically reference numerous citations of the book of Revelations to refer to Armageddon and to say that this war was brought to usher in the end times and the return of Jesus. This is what some people are claiming in these complaints. I don't know if that's true, but it's plausible. So who knows? And it's not like the Trump administration is really denying that because there's a lot of appeals to that. It's kind of they have these other appeals a little more out front, but the underlying theme of it, is to use that religious aspect, because that is what's been used over and over again in war to get people, to get soldiers to overcome the psychological resistance to killing someone, to killing the other. It has to be for a bigger purpose. It has to be righteous. It has to be justified, and it has to be good. It has to be holy. And wait, here's the quote, actually. Yeah, butcher. Here's the actual quote. Non-commissioned officers were told that the Iran war was part of God's plan, and that President Trump was anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to earth. Look, maybe that ends up being true. At some point, the world's going to end. Every generation that's ever existed has thought they lived in the end times. And what's happened when it comes to these war appeals, which have been used over and over and over. I have 10 different books dating back from 20 years ago to 150 years ago that all talk about the exact same war appeals to convince soldiers to go fight in a war that they previously opposed. And what often happens is if the end times doesn't come, and it hasn't yet, those soldiers who survived, because many of them die, because they're dying for a bigger purpose, is the belief. They wouldn't have. You're not going to get a lot of people to sign up and go kill people and go sacrifice their own life if you're like, hey, we need this oil. We need that oil. So they have to touch their hearts. They have to compel them to a bigger cause. And what often happens is people will come back and they'll feel a little bit disillusioned. Not everyone, but many will feel that they were pulled in to do things that they never would have done under a false premise. And that's probably going to continue to be the case for the rest of humanity until the end times actually comes, and they'll be like, well, this is exactly right. Maybe this is it. I don't know. But when you have the story about the Strait of Hormuz, it all feeds into this. And you have Hegseth. Hegseth makes, he does a lot of they try to play all angles of this, Hegseth does a lot of the religious appeals. Obviously, Bibi Netanyahu does. Whether he's AI or whether he's a dead guy and it's AI or whether he's alive, he always does that shit. And so this is where I connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Martin Seligman, who's one of the 5 names that I've told you guys about over and over again, who it's proven helped Epstein get that first sweetheart deal. He's one of the 4 scientists who Epstein funded much of his work. The guy who created learned helplessness theory back in the 60s when they were doing MK Ultra at UPenn. The guy who the CIA went to and said, let's get that learned helplessness stuff that you torture dogs with, and we want to use that on prisoners of war after 9/11 in the black sites. A guy who Ted Kaczynski's manifesto was based partially on. This guy who Epstein funded his new work in 2003 called Positive Psychology, which was brainwashing, according to all of his other scientist friends. The guy who's rated by the academics as the #1 behavioral psychologist in the world. He's 82 years old now. #5 most influential behavioral psychologist of all time, who most of you have never heard of, except for on this show. This guy that Epstein funded. Right after he helped Epstein get a sweetheart deal, he was given a $32 million no-bid contract by the military to conduct an experiment on Army soldiers without their consent, an experiment that was widely viewed as against the Nuremberg Code because, like I said, the people in the military, they didn't know they were part of an experiment. And it was all about brainwashing them into doing exactly this, into going and fighting wars and killing people based on little resistance from the commands they're getting. So they tried to get them to connect to a higher purpose. This is one of the things, to connect to a higher virtue, to see not questioning their commanders as virtuous and holy, and to have this connection to this higher purpose that's beyond them as justification. It's exactly what these articles are talking about, that the military has funded the studying of at a behavioral psychological level. from a guy, the guy's the head of the United States brainwashing military. What was it? The brainwashing industrial complex is what he is. Martin Seligman. He's gotten over $100 million over the years. They're creating an AI to try to about him. It's an experiment in AI so they can keep his wisdom after he dies. They called him Dr. Happy when he was conducting these experiments on the military. And so you see these articles about they're making it a holy war. They always make it a holy war. That's what they always do. That's what every country does. So the point here I think is to be, some people are afraid it's the end times, it's Revelation. I don't think it is. I think it's the same type of appeals that we always see. And I think it's a lot of the same figures involved. It's their favorite scientist. Now, how do you use this information? For me, I would really, really, if I were someone considering joining the military, and I have a lot of respect for military. Family members of military, I think everybody should go to basic training. I think the skills you learn are unlike any other. But right now, if you're thinking of joining the war because of appeals you've heard to religion, to end times, just know that the same story's been told over and over again for almost every war we've ever been in. And factor that into your decision process. All right, moving on. How long have we been doing this here? 52 minutes. Okay. AI-generated campaign ads. Wait, actually, before we do that, since we're talking about the Iran war, this is great news, guys. Because we can bet on the war with Polymarket. We can bet on when a strike's going to happen. We can bet on who's going to be taken out next. We can bet on blood, which is why Polymarket is excited to announce the Situation Room by Polymarket is coming to Washington, D.C., the world's first bar dedicated to monitoring the situation. We already have the Situation Room on CNN. Not even an effort to brand it differently. We have plenty of Situation Rooms. They need a better name, but the bar is going to be people just sitting there. It's going to be like a horse racing bar, I think. It seems like. You just sit there and you're just waiting on when are we going to bomb them? And everybody's on the phone trying to influence. So people would influence the president for other reasons before, maybe financial or connected in a different way. But now they're like, we got to get on the phone with the president. We got to make this strike happen before midnight. I put a lot of money on this happening before the 3rd. Imagine a sports bar, but just for situation monitoring. God, dude, that is crazy. So it's like a bunch of people who are gambling addicts with like a power. They want to feel like they're the president. They want to go feel like they're in the Situation Room, and they're also gambling. I mean, it does sound kind of fun. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I'd go. I'd try it out. Come on, what do you put? You putting 1,000 on Maduro? You put 1,000 on Maduro next? Guy wins. He's just counting all his money. He's won $10,000. The other guy's like, damn it. I said he would wear the Adidas tracksuit. How did you know he'd be wearing the Nike? Got to go tell my wife I lost all our money on the Adidas tracksuit bet. I thought he was wearing Adidas. I had a guy who knew Maduro, said he only wears Adidas tracksuits. And then the image is grand opening this Friday, monitoring the situation. And it's two hands holding a globe with the United States. That's an interesting choice. Hey, what do you guys think about branding? Let's make it a globe being held by two AI hands. Now, we don't know if the globe, which is glowing, is tiny or if the hands are giant. So it might be a real size globe like the one we're on, but it's just giant hands. AI hands, though. So it's like some will be like, is it God or is it AI? Or is God AI? The Situation Room by Polymarket. I would love to see a live stream of the opening of this restaurant here. I mean, that would be fun to see. The addicts that. Let's see. Okay, so the bar's just like a sports bar in Vegas. It's like a sports betting room. Yeah, like horse racing. They got all the bets up on the screen. This is the epitome of degeneracy. Look at that. That's crazy. I mean, it's funny, but it's also crazy. I'd go. I'd check it out. You're not even allowed to bet legally on that site in the United States. That's the thing. You can't even legally use it in this country. You have to use crypto and VPNs. And believe me, I've tried. And I would have lost lots of money had I been successful. I was going to bet on what time Trump started his State of the Union speech because he always starts late. And I was going to put a lot of money because that was a good bet. People were betting he was going to start earlier, which I thought was weird. And I was going to bet that he'd start after 9:15. But he didn't. Because he probably told a bunch of people, put money on me starting before 9:15. I have a feeling you might win. What a world, dude. What a world. AI-generated ads. They say this every election cycle. They're worried about the AI-generated ads affecting the campaigns. They're just trying to regulate it everywhere. It's already regulated in some states. But people are relying more on these ads because they're cheaper. You can just make a stupid ad on like Grok. You can make a terrible video. And you can put your opponent in a compromising situation. I used to make AI images on Midjourney of Stacey Abrams in a two-piece bathing suit, cradling Brian Kemp, also in a two-piece bathing suit, lovingly as they frolicked on the beach. I used to do that all the time. People are taking that philosophy and turning it into campaign ads. Look at Stacey Abrams frolicking on the beach with Brian Kemp, her alleged opponent, and they're wearing matching two-piece bathing suits. And they have the same breasts. Like, that's like the type of stuff, that's what I would make. And I would get kicked off of Midjourney for making these very creative prompts. But nevertheless, sometimes Midjourney would make the photo before kicking me off. And people are using this in ads. For me, the question is it the AI ads that are the problem? Or is it the gullibility of the people who don't realize they're AI? I've yet to come across one that wasn't obviously AI. So that's where you come into a problem in politics, because politics seeks to pursue the lowest common denominator. That's why they want to lower the voting age to 16, to 12, whatever. They want people who aren't going to think and analyze, who are simply going to see something that appeals to confirmation bias and go that way. It doesn't matter if it's Brian Kemp and it's Stacey Abrams two-piece bathing suit with big black breast, both Brian and Stacey. They'll be like, oh my God, And they put these stories up here like it's, look how convincing the latest AI is. And it's like, this isn't convincing at all. This is just as terrible as the rest of them. Look at the limerick. Look at the brilliant limerick. That's the only people, for the most part, other jobs, but limerick writers are in jeopardy, okay? Because AI can come up with a shit limerick rapidly. It is good at that. I will give it that. Did you guys know that some people just use AI for compliments? They use it for compliments they get from other people. But it doesn't feel like the AI is trying to sleep with them. So I'm talking about women. It doesn't feel like the AI is trying to sleep with them. And so every time they get the same compliments from guys, they're like, oh, he's just trying to screw me. I'd like to get the AI to tell me the same thing. I think it'd be funny if the AI started getting real creepy too. It's like not even the AI, even the AI is trying to get in my pants. Yeah, not that one. All right. All right, here, let's watch some of these campaign ads. Yeah, I'm not even going to go. It's just the same story every time. It's local candidates trying to, so they'll do stuff like they'll use AI voice stuff and make it seem like the opponent said something they didn't. Or they'll do, like I said, the weird images. Let's see. Maybe it's convincing. Maybe this is the one that actually makes me say, oh my gosh, AI is good.
We are right in the thick of a contentious political campaign for U.S. Senate, and we've never before seen the amount of campaign attack ads using artificial intelligence. Is this all legal? NBC5's Phil Prazen has details.
Texas state lawmakers banned deepfake political ads using artificial intelligence within 30 days of an election back in 2019. But that only applied to elections for state office, not the federal U.S. Senate race.
The Texas Capitol can be a hostile environment for us.
That's why you see a fake state representative, James Tallarico, reading his old tweets.
Ken Paxton told Texas he was a man of God.
This is obviously AI. It doesn't even look real.
Senate race.
The Texas Capitol can be a hostile environment for us.
That's why you see a fake state representative, James Tallarico, reading his old tweets.
Ken Paxton told Texas he was a man of God.
Or a fake Attorney General Ken Paxton preaching in front of a church.
Privately, they're perfectly in step.
Or a fake Senator John Cornyn and a fake Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett dancing together.
I think voters are going to have to kind of get used to dealing with this and trying to be discerning about what's real, what's not.
That right there is the problem. They're going to have to get used to being discerning about what's real and what's not, as though that's something that they didn't have to worry about or shouldn't have had to worry about before. Everyone should always be discerning about what's real and what's not. AI is not the reason people should suddenly start being discerning. And yet this expert here is saying, well, people are just going to have to, they're just going to have to deal with, now they have to be a little discerning. And you don't even have to be a little discerning because none of those videos even looked at all real. They all have the same cadence. They all have the same look. They all have the same weird, uncanny valley weird thing. It doesn't take any discernment or any critical thought really to realize that those are AI. It takes about 3 or 4 seconds of actual focus and realization that if it seems too good, if it's saying something you really love and you know it's fake. You know it's fake when you see it. You're only convincing yourself it's not if you want it to be something great. Like this idea that you're just going to have to sit down and learn how to discern truth now, because before it's just so dumb. It should always be that way. And it doesn't take any fucking discernment to recognize these shit AI videos are AI. But that's what you get when you try to appeal to the lowest common denominator. You got to tell them, you got to say, look, our opponents are going to make AI ads. And we know that most people who aren't brain damaged can recognize an AI ad in a split second. But we want the vote of you retards, because you retards aren't going to ask questions about policy. You're just going to believe the shit we tell you. But we do need you to do a little bit of discernment. Just a little. We don't need you to question the real person, the real candidate. We just need you to recognize when it's a digital version. That's all. That's where you stop. That's where you stop. You don't even need to get a 960 on your SAT. You just need to be able to tell that a robotic AI sounding video that Gavin Newsom could point out is fake.
Brendan Steinhauser from the Alliance for Secure AI is advocating for
the Alliance for Secure AI is advocating for discernment. What is that? What a position this guy is. As the head of the Alliance for AI, I have decided, and this is going to be break taboo. I know it's time to recommend discernment. I know. What a stupid position this is. What a dumb job this is.
Disclosure rules on a national level. So from the Alliance for Secure AI is advocating for disclosure rules on a national level. So at least
it has Jasmine Crockett ballroom dancing in every AI photo you ever made on Grok. If you think that this is real, then you should not be able to vote. That should be the standard. You should you should put these things up there. This should be what these campaign ads are for. And people, they have to give their information. We're collecting our data anyway. Let's use it so we can weed out people and decide who can't vote. I don't vote anyway, because I think we should get out the don't vote, invalidate the system completely. But if we're going to do voting, people should have to be 30 at least, and they should have to go through a series of tests that they pass. And this should be one of them. If you look at this and your thought is, oh my God, I didn't know Jasmine Crockett was such a great ballroom dancer. Where is this castle that they're in? Then you don't ever get to vote. Again.
someone has to tell you if they're using the technology. Because soon he says...
And they're tap dancing, too. They're also... She's also a tap dancer. Sorry, give me your voter registration.
Average viewer will not be able to tell real...
We're also going to have to take your children to foster care. They'll be in there with Gavin Newsom. His parents are dead, too. He doesn't have any... He's an orphan. Nobody will adopt him.
From AI-generated videos. I think the algorithms that are the basis of what we're seeing with AI are so sophisticated and frankly so manipulative that they have a much bigger impact than still images or traditional political propaganda, if you will.
Last year, the FCC...
The speech pattern and the phrases that all these AI videos use, it's the same thing. They all have the same set of phrases that you hear. If you've ever seen those videos of the Yeti in the woods where the Yeti like parties, it's like, and the Yeti's like, yo, bro, I just ran into this hot chick down and I want to tell you 5 reasons or 5 ways to avoid. It's the same pattern. He's holding the selfie camera. Just imagine, if you know what I'm talking about, that applied onto every AI video, because it's exactly like that. The same setup, the same language, switched around a little bit for context.
He fined a political consultant $6 million for making a fake Biden
impact than still images or traditional political propaganda, if you will.
What is the guy's name from? He was in Punk'd. He looks like a gay version of this guy. Let me see. No, not that guy. Dax Shepard. This guy looks like gay Dax Shepard. Look at this. All right, look at this guy. Let's blow that up. There he is. And now look at Dax Shepard. There's Dax Shepard. And there's gay head of the whatever the AI Institute, Dax Shepard.
Manipulative, but they have a much bigger impact than still images or traditional political propaganda, if you will.
Last year, the FCC fined a political consultant $6 million for making a fake Biden radio ad. But so far, the commission has not been active in 2026. Congress and the Federal Elections Commission so far have not passed any rules or laws cracking down.
Wait a minute. They glossed over that, didn't they? It's one of the most interesting things about propaganda is the emphasis on things. You can emphasize something and focus attention to it and make such a big deal out of it. And then you can just race back past it and it'll mean nothing to people and it won't stick in their minds.
$1 million for making
or traditional political propaganda, if you will.
Last year, the FCC fined a political consultant $6 million for making a fake.
So this is a screenshot. A robocall obtained by NBC appears to use digital manipulation of Joe Biden's voice to encourage New Hampshire primary voters not to support the president. So that was most likely a Trump supporter who got fined $6 million for using an AI, and that's what they skip over.
Fake Biden radio ad. But so far, the commission has not been active in 2026.
So there's the outrage there. There's the outrage. This guy who used an AI ad to convince idiots that Joe Biden said something he didn't, who supported Trump, gets fined $6 million. But so far in 2026, the commission is like, we're going to take it easy this time. I'd be a little upset if that was that guy that got hit with the $6 million. Seems a little bit biased. But notice how they just brush that under the rug and how quickly they put that screenshot on there. That tells you everything you need to know about this commission. You find one side $6 million and you're just not very active. You're worried. You have the head of this commission, gay Dax Shepard, worried about the impact, but you're not doing anything about it. It's everywhere. Even though you just did $6 million, this is bullshit.
Congress and the Federal Elections Commission so far have not passed any rules or laws cracking down on the use of artificial.
Oh, now they're in front of the White. Oh my God! Did you see Jasmine Crockett ballroom dancing in front of the White House? She ballroom danced with this gray-haired guy. I don't know who he is, but they just ballroom danced across countries, and I didn't know she could dance. You lose your voting card. Give it to me. You can't drive either.
Intelligence and political ads either. Until then, in federal elections, viewers and voters will have to sift between what's real and what's not on their own.
Oh my God. Like, if I imagine having to watch that video and decide for yourself if it was real or not. Here, this is the convolution of reality right here. Because the reality of it takes dissecting and understanding propaganda to a surface level, and maybe even kind of gives people a false sense of confidence, because the real dissecting of the truth is happening all of the time. It's happening in what I just showed you there, with the way they minimize that $6 million claim, and then they're not doing it anymore because it's not somebody supporting Trump who made the AI ad. It's in all media, even media you like and don't like. The same. It should be analyzed, determining the truth. Asking questions, using, discernment should be going on all the time. This is not the first time that you've had to use that discernment. You get time to knock the rust off that discernment skill because now AI is here. That's the lie. That's the big lie, as they say. And you convince people that if you just pay attention to these things about these AI ads, then you will be able to know the truth. Then what you have done is you have convinced people to have confidence in their ability to discern, when the reality is that they don't know what the hell's going on. Because that's the level of discernment that they think gets them to the truth. If this works. I'm not saying this works on most people, but this is what they want to work on most people. Why does that voting machine look like a talking trash can? A voting machine looks like it's about to clean a quick trip after 12 a.m. Which I have to say, the only thing I'm more disturbed about recently than Waymos are the robots cleaning quick trip after 12 a.m. I don't like those things at all. I mean, it looks like a trash can. It looks like they're voting at a trash can. Why do they make it look like a trash can?
Until then, in federal elections, viewers and voters will have to sift between what's real and what's not on their own. Phil Prazen, NBC5.
A proposal to get removal of the 30-day requirement and ban all AI-generated political ads failed to pass the state legislature last year.
Oh, failed to pass.
Being in the friend zone sucks.
What the fuck is that? Where is... Here's the other one. This is Sky News. What is that ad? All right, here is this is Sky News talking about it. About fake ads. I guess.
Knucklehead James Tallarico. He's a Democrat pastor who emerged victorious in the Democrat primaries to run for the Senate. He's a guy. Now, I want to go over to...
I don't even know how... How's this... I'm using my friend's computer. And I haven't been on Facebook in...
to talk about this chucklehead James Tallarico. He's a Democrat pastor who emerged victorious in the Democrat primaries to run for the Senate.
So he used air quotes when he said pastor.
He's a guy who has said lots of incredibly normal things, like comparing white people to a virus, saying God is non-binary, and that the fate of the world rests on stopping people from eating meat in Texas.
We have, I think, heard more and more issues of animal welfare. I think not just because it's the right thing to do and the moral thing to do, but also it's, as all of you know, necessary to fight climate change. It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption.
That guy's
I really
that
see
guy
that
has a
message going
high
down
meat
so well in
consumption.
Texas. And to talk about this and other elections that are going on up and down the U.S. of A., I'm joined by a man who knows the process very well, former Republican Senate nominee Rick Maida. Rick, thanks so much for joining me here on the U.S. Report.
Rick.
What, tell me, are the Democrats...
The lower third here is Texas Dem primaries winner and odd guy. I thought this was about AI ads.
...thinking, fielding candidates like this Tallarico guy?
Well, great to be back on with you, first of all.
And I have to say that this expert is a bit of an odd guy.
The Democrats have become the Republicans' best friend.
Look at the eyeliner. He looks like he's about to do a card trick. On the strip at Broadway at Myrtle Beach.
When it comes to these midterms, I mean, a guy like James Tallarico, if we've learned nothing from the last few elections, is that voters are looking for authenticity. And you're campaigning in a state of Texas, telling people to reduce their meat consumption when you literally have industries built.
He didn't even touch that old black woman. He just walked by her and he didn't even shake her hand.
Off of the meat industry. I mean, it's silly. Now, look at James. He's going around saying that, white people are a virus. Was that even authentic? You can't disclaim and disown your own.
So the attempt to mimic authenticity is something they've been trying to do since the podcast. The alternative media, conspiratorial media, took many of their viewers during COVID. But do we really need a guy pointing out their lack of authenticity? Who's this guy's this guy looks like he looks like a creepy magician. He might be very smart, I'm sure. He's wearing a lot of eyeliner. And he looks like somebody I'm going to see at the Landmark Diner trying to do mentalist tricks on women.
Own race and your own color. And when the country's trying to move more neutral, trying to become more race neutral, especially when people are literally just care about the...
What
now,
is
I want to
this?
go over to Texas.
I don't know how this app works.
It was an idea to get animals.
All right. I got to get off that Facebook. I don't know how that works. I'm going to show you what I think is going to be more AI stuff. I'm interested, though. The algorithm on my friend's computer is interesting. Oh, my God. It's funny. Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones cast Rick Jackson as source of dark money attack ads. Okay.
On the record this week.
Finally, we can break through.
Our focus is going to be winning each day.
Democrat Sean Harris and Republican Clay Fuller head to a runoff in the race to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene in Congress.
It's a black guy versus a white guy.
Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones makes his case to voters as his primary opponents take him to court.
They sued me for raising money. They sued me for spending money. I bet they'll probably have a lawsuit for me talking to you today.
Lawmakers pushing.
Everybody wants a lawsuit against them nowadays. It's currency. People banking on what they can earn by being persecuted politically.
A plan to pour millions into schools and improve literacy scores across the state.
And Georgia farmers getting long-awaited help from the federal government.
You know, it'd be funny if that farmer who got in a tractor, he's going down, he's on the farm, plowing the fields, and then you just see Jasmine Crockett and that old white guy just tap dancing and ballroom dancing right across in front of him. And we'd be forced to use discernment for the first time to determine whether or not that's true.
Now, from Atlanta News First, the issues that matter to you.
This is the worst news channel.
This is On the Record.
Georgia voters were back at the polls as the race
the graphics in this thing.
to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene hit its first major starting.
That's not even, this is terrible. That was, all right. These links are terrible that I've shown you. These are terrible links. I should have known when I saw Atlanta News First. These are supposed to be campaign ads. They're what a piece of shit links these are. Screw it. We're not even going to talk about it anymore. I'm going to find real links next time. That was just like the most dramatic, weird. I've seen Atlanta News First. I don't know why I use that one. They're always 3 weeks behind, and apparently they're trying to be like a movie with their graphics and their intro. It's a little strange. Mr. Pink says, I need less pussy whites. Then he said, we're making the Jews look strong. There's a lot of pussy whites around. It's true. And Jews do sometimes claim not to be white when it's convenient. I'm always white, dude. I'm always white. It doesn't matter. Ain't nothing I can do about it. Who cares? Who cares? Identity politics is a poison. And so are women who think they can get away with everything. As the headline indicates here, Florida woman flashes devilish grin after being accused of doing unspeakable things to Airbnbs and posting the footage on sex sites. Now, before we go into this story, because I know what the story is, just off of this headline, I have never thought to myself, man, I could make a lot of money on sex sites if I did some unspeakable things in this Airbnb that I'm in. And I'm guessing most of you never have either. I could do exactly, or you could do exactly what you're about to find out that this woman did in an Airbnb and post it on sex sites. And you would probably not be flashing a devilish grin because you know how much money it made you and how much more money it made you than the cost of this arrest will be. Because for most of us, doing what you're about to see that she did would simply be a very disgraceful part of our criminal record that was humiliating and cost us money to no profit. But not for this woman who flashed the devilish grin. She was streaming live, the article starts, a Florida woman. It's always, you don't need to say it's a Florida woman. It's presumed in stories like this. She was busted after allegedly filming herself. Yeah, you live stream it. Filming herself peeing on. She was busted after allegedly filming herself peeing on and destroying over $5,000 worth of household items in 2 Airbnb rentals. So it took them a minute to catch her because she got to a second Airbnb and then posting the twisted clips on sex sites to make money. Is that her fault, or is it the fault of the men? And it's definitely men who have a piss fetish. Bunch of you creeps out there are just dying to see some chick urinate on random people's furniture. That because of you, some people who are just trying to pay the bills, make a little extra money with their house, have urine from some crazy woman all over their items, all over their home. They got to go back in there and they got to get the urine spray like it's a dog. I mean, imagine that. Imagine you, like, yes, I will let you rent my home, okay? Here are the rules. The rules are this. The rules are don't break anything, no illegal drugs, and do not urinate on our items and then stream it to a sex site for profit. Those are the hard and fast rules. And she couldn't maintain those rules. Now they got to bring in fumigation. They got to spend extra money. And she's smirking in her mugshot. A guy can't do that, okay? There's no guys who are pissing, who are like, I'm going to stand on the bookcase, this Airbnb, and piss all over all these white fragility, anti-racism, path journey, ally books. Let me take a leak in the ice maker and stream it on Pornhub to make a little money. There's no guys making money doing that. But there's women who are so emboldened by you piss freaks. You piss fetid, sitting around all day. Yeah, you're sitting at work. You're like, man, I gotta get home. It's taking everything in my power not to pull up some piss fetish porn while I'm at the office. But they'll see I got to go home and do it. And you're hiding it from your wife in your private browser. It is you people, you men, who are emboldening, whatever, this type of behavior. And it pisses me off, okay? Because what an easy way to make money. I think we'd all do it if we could. I think if there was a market for us, we'd all be peeing in people's Airbnbs. Dogs do it. They don't stream it. They should. Maybe there are some dogs that stream because there's a lot of weird. You got to do the crossover fetishes, and that's where you get into some. That's where you get some real money, is those niche crossover fetishes. You have like a person dressed like a dog. It's like a chick, maybe pretending to be a dog, pissing on bookcases and mantles and flat screen TVs, and they're streaming it to Pornhub, your piss dog. Probably making a killing, dude. You probably do AI videos, and people who don't know how to use discernment, you can rob them. She's hot too. She's actually hot. So like maybe actually, now that I see her photo, I wonder if they put the website on here, because maybe I'll subscribe. Maybe it was worth it. I was assuming that she wasn't going to be attractive. Look at her. She looks so sweet. And you see her across a cafe and you go, look at that. Look at that pretty, probably 28, 27. Look at her. She's got the answers. She's got all the answers. She's probably a virgin, is what you might think. I bet she's never even seen a penis before. That's going to be my wife, someone might think, across a cafe. Here, let me get back to my piss porn. Holy shit, it's that girl from across the cafe. Who knew? Who knew such an innocent? She looks like a nurse, too, with that outfit. I mean, I'd be happy, too, if I just made $500,000 for some misdemeanor. Nicolette. Her name's Nicolette. Of course it is. Of course her name's Nicolette. Flashing a devilish grin in the mugshot was reported to cops after the horrified Pensacola Airbnb owner found videos of the vile guest peeing on various objects, including a coffee maker, toaster, typewriter, TV, a rug. Wait a minute. A coffee maker, toaster. I hadn't read this, so I was just guessing. I was accurate on some of it. A typewriter. That's a rare item to find, and even rarer to piss on. A TV, a rug, chairs. This is according to the police report. The question is, how did the owners of the home, the Airbnb, find out what she was doing? Did they have illegal cameras inside the house? Or were they on a piss fetish porn site? It's one of the two. It's one of the two. Either you're illegally spying, because that's the challenge you have there. If you're going to have cameras hidden in the toilet and hidden in the plants and in the walls, your clock, because you can buy a clock hidden camera on Amazon right now. You can buy a little block. Looks like a charger for your phone on Amazon. You can buy looks like an air conditioner, or a fire alarm, smoke detector. You can buy everything. You can buy a pen camera, and you can just creep out on people. You can also buy camera detectors, by the way. I don't know how well they work, but I don't like Airbnbs. They're weird. Nevertheless, is this an admission that they're spying on people, or is it an admission that they have a freak fetish? That's probably why she's smiling. Maybe she outed them. If that's why she did it, if she's like, they're spying on me, I'm going to piss on their toaster. I'm going to piss in their toaster. You know what? I'm also going to piss in their little fancy old typewriter too, because I know they're watching me. Then I support her then, if that's the different angle here. 31 years old. She's cute, dude. I'll fix her. Holy smokes, look at her. This chick is smoking hot. That's her. Shit. No shit, dude. I mean, I'm changing my opinion in real time here. That girl is smoking hot. She could be just a regular, look at her. She could be a regular model. So she does this for the love of the game, it looks like. Yeah. You got to find where your demand is. After being tipped off through the Airbnb app, so someone tipped them off that her guest was urinating on multiple items. I don't believe that story. How's that possible? How can you be tipped off? How can someone have more information about what videos are being made in your Airbnb? The rental owner found the shocking P for cash videos on the adult website. So they say they were tipped off. They were just on the adult website and they noticed their own home. That's the actual story here. That's the story. The tip off is the hidden cameras. I changed my mind about this. I think this bitch knew that they had hidden cameras and she forced their hand by pissing on their typewriter and in their toaster. And now they got to make up a story about I was tipped off. By who? Who tipped you off? By your own hidden cameras, you creep. And then so I went and found, I was tipped off. And then I said, maybe I better go look and see if I can find them on Porn Piss Hub. And you know what? This is the creep right here. Good for this girl. I knew she was innocent. I knew she was just a wonderful girl. Look at her. How could she be anything other than that? She's what a patriot, I think is what we're all thinking. Is what a patriot. I mean that. There was a young lady inside making money on in a very unusual way that damaged somebody else's property, said the police, but warmed most of our hearts. There's a list of items, including the TV, a record player. We forgot the record player, the coffee pot. Oh, man. Never use a coffee pot again. Never, ever use a coffee pot again. In a hotel or an Airbnb, now that we know that. After being tipped off through the Airbnb app, because there must be like a thing where it's like, you can just say help and be like, did you notice someone peeing on the coffee maker in an Airbnb, the owner of which you might know, and you would like to send them a tip? That must be part of it. Shouldn't the cop point that? Shouldn't the investigator be like, hey, we know the tip came from the owner themselves? I think that they should investigate that. I mean, there's no doubt there's no doubt that they found this out because they had hidden cameras. They saw this hot chick going there, and this person probably creeps on hot chicks all the time, and they saw that she was doing all this stuff, and they got so mad, and they had to concoct this story where they think they're not outing themselves. After being tipped off, that the person was urinating in multiple of their units. That is the least likely story I've ever heard. Such a concerned person. You guys have stayed in Airbnbs. I've stayed in a few. Can you imagine a scenario at all where somehow you would get tipped off that someone is pissing on various items in an Airbnb that you once stayed in? Not one, but two that happen to be owned that you know by the same person, who you also happen to have their contact information available. Holy smokes, I stayed in both those Airbnbs. I better alert this person. It's such a bullshit. This is discernment, okay? This is the discernment we all should be doing all the time. Had I stuck with the type of discernment the mainstream media had, I would have continued to paint this beautiful, very innocent virgin as the villain, when clearly she is the hero, exposing the true villain, which is a hidden camera creep at Airbnb, trying to pretend that that's not what they are when someone pissed on their parade. The rental owner allegedly found the shocking P for cash videos posted on adult content website. Okay, this is so stupid. Go fuck yourself, New York Post. This is another case of the inversion of reality. What this story is Airbnb owner exposed when renter who finds their hidden cameras gets payback. That's the headline. Be better than that, but that's the framing. Because what she did was not something she went there to do. What she did was something she was forced to do. The fetish website was not disclosed. Yeah, how'd they find the fetish website? They just, like a lucky guess. The disgusted victim said the unhinged suspect left behind a strong stench and caused $3,900 in damage in furniture and other items, and $1,400. So they got in there. We got in there. We sniffed it out. We sniffed it out. Because this creep sniffed it out. This creep loves sniffing it out. That's why he's got the cameras there. Look at her. She's looking at the camera. You look at this camera here, right? And so this is the illusion that this camera is one that she set up. I don't think it is. I think that this is probably one of the hidden cameras that she found. There's also a possibility that they paid her to do this, that she's an escort. And they paid her to do this and something went wrong with the transaction. An antique crown royal rug, a typewriter, 4 dining chairs, a coffee. But see, that's a revenge. This is a revenge game. You don't piss on an antique crown royal chair rug, a typewriter, a record player, 4 dining chairs, a coffee pot, a bed, a TV, and an electric fireplace if you're not on a revenge tour. How much urine did this woman have saved up? She must have been just drinking water all night. The victim said a vase, this person's not a victim. A green rug, an accent wall, a chair, and a tiger rug were also peed on. Of course, because you were spying on her. So she got criminal and mischief charges. This is bullshit. So people in these comments think that this girl, this is somebody who was spying on people. That's why she did it. Or they paid her to do it. This is a creep. There's no victim here. Who gets tipped off? I got tipped off that 2 of my properties were peed in. Who tipped you off? That's not even a thing. There's nobody tipping people off about what's going on in their Airbnb rentals. If that were a thing, then that would be illegal. The very idea of that is illegal. What do you mean? Did anybody say, what do you mean you were tipped off? How were you tipped off? It must have been somebody on pissing my toaster .pornfuck. They must have recognized it, happened to stay in both my places, and be like, there's that old ancient typewriter and that tiger rug. And they reached out to me. Well, is your email publicly available, or is it something? Well, they're a very diligent researcher. They use a lot of discernment. I predict a follow-up story where the owner of these Airbnb are arrested. That's my prediction. Get some justice for that poor innocent virgin, brunette. Very, how dare they make her piss on their tiger rug? Well, that was a crock of shit. She didn't want to. People do piss on things when they're mad. I'm not wrong about that. That's a revenge thing people do. All right. about to get out of here. This is what I was going to show you guys earlier. I had my tabs wrong. So this is an AI ad that they were saying was one of the ones that was real for people.
To announce my re-election campaign today. Working with our one-party rule on Beacon Hill, we have accomplished so much in our first term. We have one of the highest electricity rates in the nation, thanks to me for slapping on excessive fees.
Thanks to me for it sounds like a very natural, real. If you believe this ad at all, you don't get to vote.
To fund my climate agenda. We are the second most costly state to retire.
This is so stupid. This is the problem with this is this where it crosses the line of what's parody. So if you're trying to make fun of your opponent, and they're going after parody, satire, which is why I was really emphasizing how great it was that Afro Man won his case. Because stuff like this is what they'll use to try and prevent people from being able to make fun of other people. I mean, this is obviously not real audio. You know how they do those tests where you have to do the cache or whatever? You have to get the picture right. How many fire hydrants are in this picture? And sometimes you have to do it like 6 times, and it's like, what computer is doing this better than me right now? Like, because you don't know what the definition of a fire hydrant is or a bike. What if a piece of the tire isn't? Do you click on that? They should do that for voting. And they should show people a series of AI videos and audio. And they should have to click on whether or not they think it's real or not. And if they get even one of them wrong, they do not get to vote. That's a great solution, actually, that will never happen because it'll be like, some communities don't have access to the technology necessary to understand what's real and what's not in AI, and racist people, and you get Stacey Abrams on the job. You'll get blackface Newsom out there saying, I didn't see things I could read when I'm 960. And I read backwards because I have dyslexia. I just now realized I had dyslexia. So while everyone else thought they're like, you have like $10 million as a high schooler, I thought I just had 0.0000. I thought I had 10 cents. Because I'm just like you. This is the best troll Heckle that I've ever seen in my life. Be smarter than Gavin Newsom and you can vote. There you go. Yeah, repeal the 19th, problem solved. Yeah. Only people with children and land should be allowed to vote. I mean, if you can live off the land and raise children on your own instead of having the system raise them, you're definitely going to have the more wisdom and wherewithal, than people who help Gavin Newsom with his talking points. I still can't believe that. It just blows my mind. There's a lot of money put into that article. Those people were paid to write that article, probably a nice little bit of cash. And you have all these political strategists who are in on it, millions of dollars being passed around, and all they could come up with is, what if the white dudes who've been rich their entire lives are actually the ones who've been oppressed? They're the oppressed black women. That's their strategy. This stuff gets me so fired up, man. I intend to do like hour-long shows, but I start getting into this. It's such a weird reality, you know? It's absent of logic. And yet, confidence in the use of it. People believing they're being completely logical and smart about something, wholly in the dark about how lacking in any logic and reason any of the decisions they make are, and yet getting paid very well to be someone who should never vote, telling someone else how to win others' votes. Greatest heckle of all time, in my opinion. It is NCAA tournament season. Ian sent me this the other day. So it's a series of clips of basketball players. I think these are small colleges, maybe some high schools, shooting free throws. And fans from the other team are using a unique and effective heckle to mess up their rhythm and cause them to miss free throws. So the guy shooting the free throws, for those listening, you shoot free throws, you have a rhythm. Yeah, you want to black out the crowd because you know people are trying to make you miss it. And he's doing his rhythm. Looks like he dribbles it twice, spins it, goes to shoot. He dribbled it twice, spun it right before he went to shoot. The crowd shouts, "That's my man!" And he stopped and he looked over, flustered him, throws up a brick.
That's my man. That's my man.
Rick?
That's my man. All right, babe.
It's very smart. It's funny, but also it is also something that's going to mess with somebody, because you hear everything. You hear miss, F you, you hear all the bad things. But you have never, ever heard someone acting like you're their man. And it's a guy. Like, it's funny.
He got one. That ball. That's my man. That's my man.
Yeah, you got to time it right.
Yeah, that's my man. Oh, yeah, Dave.
He airballed it. The guy airballed it.
That's my man.
Is it?
Yeah, that's my girl.
That's
my man. Oh my God.
That's so funny.
That's my man. That's my man. That's my man.
Yeah. I love that. That's a good heckle. It's not just funny. It's like good heckles. Some of them are trying to be funny. My brother played professional baseball. He played at Georgia Tech. I learned to heckle as a kid. He's 10 years older than me. And so I learned, I always wanted to affect the outcome. And I did very often. And the way you affect the outcome is you have to say something that they don't black out, because they're used to the other stuff, as I say. And so you have to come up with something unique. And you have to time it to where everybody's in that one silent moment, then you make it loud so everybody hears it, so it causes that little flinch of distraction like we saw in these videos. And I tell you what, this is a great strategy right here. I am impressed And I'm a little surprised we're not seeing this used during the NCAA tournament. Maybe we will. Maybe when the Final Four comes, we will. All right, done with that. Is that it? That's it. All right. Thanks for hanging out late at night, guys. Normalize heckling. That's what I worry about there is it looked like the referees would look over. Maybe they'll throw them out. You can't heckle at a baseball game, a professional baseball game anymore. They'll throw you out. That's what I used to do. I used to go to games, I'd sit in the outfield, I'd get the whole section chanting something that I specifically came to the game with because I thought it would uniquely catch the attention of the specific player. You have to do your research to be a good heckler. But now you do that, they will throw you out. And that's not baseball. That's pussy ball. That's what that is. Thank you. Thanks for hanging out with me this late at night. I don't know where you're located, but I'm sure it's late either way, unless you're in Australia. I'll be back later this week. We're going to do a show on Wednesday. I'll do one Tuesday also, tomorrow. But we're going to do one Wednesday where we are talking about Ted Kaczynski's manifesto and what has come to pass, what hasn't, what it means. So that's a fun subject to talk about. Interesting, nevertheless. Helium Comedy Club, April 4th for those in Atlanta. Sam Tripoli headlining. I'll be opening for him. It'll be a good time. 7 o'clock and then a 9:30 show if you guys want to check it out. SamTripoli.com is where you can find that out. If you want to get access to the show Sam and I do and Austin Picard do, the subscriber-only show called Whatever This Is, Conspiracy Deep Dive, go to patreon.com/propaganda report. Subscribe at the lowest level there. And also you can get it at propreport.locals.com. Both of those subscriptions, you also get the audio version of the show ad-free. I take the ads out for those who subscribe. And if you're not ready to subscribe and you're listening on audio, let the ads play through. We don't get anything if the ads don't play through. I don't do a whole lot of self-promoting like others because I revolt against that, but I have to do it a little bit to keep the show going. So I appreciate the support. You can also leave a 5-star review on your podcasting app, listening app of choice. That warms my heart. It always helps to get those great messages you guys leave. So we'll be back later this week. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day.